God, baby, that was incredible. Twice last night, and again this morning. I think you may have finally outdone yourself. When were the last 3 times we had sex in 12 hours? I was grinning. Since the babies were born, Amy said. This empty nest thing definitely has its perks. She snuggled up to me, and I wrapped my arms around my wife of 20 years. I do miss girls. But sitting here, it really feels quite wonderful at this point. And, seemingly, the last 22 years of writings have catapulted into memory, dating, falling in love, and eventually marrying Amy. Then came the daughters, back to back. Then, as a family unit, we relived all the cycles again. Dolls gave way to bikes, then to soccer and boyfriends, and then driver's licenses and graduation. After that, they were hundreds of miles away at college, and we had an empty house. I kissed the top of her head. Baby, those last 20 years have slipped away like hours in a whirlwind. Let's make good use of our time and live as newlyweds again, the first 20 years just as we had. Amy laughed at that. Well, we're no newlyweds now, but there are more than enough things that keep it burning. I stroked her hand gently. Such delicate skin. She was purring because of my caressing, and that is when she allowed me to sleep until Amy rose up her head, and she pressed her lips down to mine. Tim, I love making love to you, and I know that you feel this too. We're just good together. And I want it to be this way now and forevermore. I yawned and sleepily mumbled, You make me so happy. I am a lucky fellow. She kissed me again. What we have is good, and I want us to live together till the end of time. To pamper the grandkids, and to be for one another when it's decaying. I nodded carelessly, pulling her closer. She smiled, lightening up a kiss on my lips as her hand went further down. But before grandchildren overtake our life, I want to go out for one more adventure. Before we settle into old age, I want some adventure. Her words slowly pulled me out of that haze of sleep in which I floated. I looked at her and sat upright, raising one eyebrow. Adventure. She paused thoughtfully. I know it sounds selfish, but I want to have one more thrill before I am too old to try new things. Then, in the back of my head, a far-off alarm sounded. What was she just saying? A final adventure? I was unsettled by the way she said it. I loved adventure, but what kind? I opened my eyes to see her face framed so beautifully in wild curls of blonde. But it was the eyes that betrayed a concern for me, as she wouldn't look away from me. I kept stroking her hand. An adventure? What kind of adventures? She leaned forward and kissed me. As I said, selfish. That inner alarm was getting louder. So this is for you, not us? She screwed up her nose. Well, yes, but I think you might also have a tale of adventure quite apart from mine. The alarm was blasting its head off. Adrenaline was pounding in my bloodstream. I jacked myself upright. Amy jerked back as I pinned my gaze on hers, now fully alert. Cut the bullshitting. Say what you mean by an adventure. Amy had moved. It's not terrible, I swear. I wasn't trying to scare you. I'm not mad at you at all yet. Okay. You know Dan in sales? He and his brother, Rob, bought a sailboat last month. My coworker, Susan, sailed with them last weekend. She said it was incredible and really wanted to go again. I told her it sounded like fun, and I guess she reminded Dan because he invited both of us to join the family on a sail next weekend. I turned to the wife. So, nobody I've met invites my wife to spend the weekend on some guy's boat? And then Labor Day just happens to be on Monday. That's a 3-day weekend for you. This is just a trip, she said. I even have pictures of the boat if you want to look. It was beautiful, and Susan had the best time of her life. Amy, Susan is single. You are. Is that the hitch? She reached out and stroked my face, and I recoiled. I know, baby, but it's just one weekend. Just one last fling. I leaped out of bed. No way in hell. Forget it. I won't let you run off to be the naughty schoolgirl for a weekend on some guy's sailboat. I never said anything about sleeping with him. Come on, Amy. What makes you think these guys are inviting 2 women on their boat for innocent fun? Did Susan tell you what she did with them last weekend? Amy looked down at the bed. Yes. She slept with them. But that doesn't mean I would. I laughed. And the story of lying up on the boat before sleeping with both brothers is nothing at all. To do with not wanting to come, right? Oh, Tim, it was just one weekend. You could have done anything you wanted to. Then we would forget all about it and move on. I gritted my teeth. Not that you would have had some plan all laid out for the time when I'd be fumbling around trying to come up with something, but I am not in the mood to have some sort of adventure with anyone but you, and you could have proposed that we rent a boat and have our own adventure. That's not what this is it? The weekend with these two younger fellows? She stopped. I'm sorry. I think I just got caught up in Susan's enthusiasm. It sounded like such an adventure. I wasn't thinking.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell them I can't go. I'm not leaving. I was the happiest man alive until 20 minutes ago. Being inside and holding you close, I thought that everything was just fine. As our love was true and you promised to spend the rest of your life with me, it seemed everything was perfectly fine. But now I realize it was my fantasy all along. And I kept telling myself you were the same committed as I was. I was wrong. No fantasy. I really love you and always will. Please, baby, I'm such a dope.
Sorry.
I don't know what I was thinking about that I wasn't at all. Please just disregard everything I said. Please, baby, she plaintively cried down my back as I made a run for our bathroom. I locked the door and ducked inside and hid behind it. I bathed with the rest juices of our passion, but jolting thoughts drowned my head about the proposal that my wife made. What in the hell is she going to think of that act of treason, huh? When I came out of the bathroom, Amy was lying flat on the bed, bawling her lungs out. She kept staring at me, traces of tears on that lovely face, still there. I sat beside her. She flung herself at me, bracing and gasping. She wrapped her arms about me, smoothed my hair, until finally the convulsions in her body subsided to only shuddering sobs. Amy, for 22 years you made me believe in us, in our relationship. I thought we wanted the same things, shared the same dreams. Never once did I doubt you. Until today. Oh my God. Tim, I am sorry. I am playing through it all in context of the scene. There was what I'd planned while you were bathing. Then suddenly, two women who go ahead to send an invitation of going out on a trip with them. I almost brought up at this point. The whole thing seemed so stupid, self-centered, that here I was acting like some immature teenager out of a loving wife and mum. I hate myself, and I can feel as idiotic as someone else can ever get. So now what? Now where? How am I to know you were fine with screwing two other guys? What does this bode for our future together? Amy cried as hard as she didn't want to. I've made a muddle. Good heavens. I just knew that no husband could put up with it. No husband could tolerate the idea. I must have treated you as if for granted. You have always been so sensible and sound, and I let myself get carried away by this vain, egotistic dream. I just deserted and dishonored you. I thought it was going to be fun, and that's all that I thought of. That's not like me at all. This is all so unlike you. At least the you I have known and loved for 22 years. Oh, baby, please tell me how to get this right. I know this is all of my doing. What am I to do make you love me again? I do not know. My marriage has been seriously damaged. All the things I ever believed in or thought to be true now appear not quite that sure. Essentially, I have hit rock bottom. You told me you have taken me for granted. Is it my fault? Am I perhaps too loyal? Do you even find me dull now? No. All of it, me. Selfish, childish indulgence on my part, perhaps. You were fascinated as you were. Maybe I started taking your love for granted because of it. But that is so wrong. I should have cared for this gift of love and not exploited it. Give me a chance to prove that I understand my mistake, and let me save our marriage. I don't know if her words made me believe her, or if I was desperate to believe that the woman whom I had loved for 22 years was still mine, but I nodded. Amy flung herself into my arms, crying and kissing me. Tell Susan to tell the boys you're not interested in going, I said firmly. And for goodness sake, promise me you're not going to come out of the woodwork over Dan at work either. Apparently, either one of you told Dan that fine would be dandy if invited for an end weekend or something like that. Perhaps I should get a job at your sister's bakery, Amy said thoughtfully. We don't need the extra money, and she could certainly use the help. It'd be the responsible thing to do, the mature, unselfish thing to do, she added wryly, smiling.
Epilogue.
I had invested so much time digesting the betrayal of Amy. I had not married for 22 years to have such a selfish blunder be the end in this way. At that final blow, she rejected that plan. But scorching fire, disrespect, burning in my mind, it drove me to give her one more chance at redemption. She takes some time, but the doubts slowly fade away. I love my work at the bakery, staying there till her retirement. Then she really begins to take it easy for the grandkids. That means it leaves me only 1 or 2 years till retirement. Amy had retired that one day, all ready to set off on a totally new adventure, a solo journey, this time with just me by her side.